Well, thank you very much, everybody, for coming today. I think next weekend we have Rotary Kingston, and then Top Lake. It's a fairly busy space, but it's something that we are working to develop to become more of a performance space that's kind of ready to go. So I call it, it's an emerging center for the performing arts because it's something that we're developing. And right now, I think I mentioned upstairs, but we're in the process of raising about $750,000 for the first step. And I'll get to that. So let's go to the next slide. So it's a place that is undergone. Don't worry about reading it. It's probably pretty small, but it's undergone a lot of enhancements already. Maybe Ellie, correct me on this. Maybe 20 years ago or 15 years ago, they discovered that really the congregation wasn't going to be able to carry alone this location forward. It's obviously a very old building, it's 7 years old. There's a lot of work that needs to be done, upkeep it, replacing a chimney, there's a lot of masonry. So the idea was to enhance it, build offices, build community spaces, and get it in a position that it can be rented out to the community and be used as a community facility. So kitchens were upgraded, meeting halls. There's a hall sort of at the back that we didn't see today. That's maybe half the size of the one we were in the second room. And so renting these spaces out is a form of income that the Spire is pursuing and already sort of going through. But next slide. So it's a vibrant community already. We have a lot of children's theater that uses the space, Blue Canoe. We have a Queen Swing Dance group that uses the space. We have a Toddler. We have multiple AA groups. Actually, there's 4 AA groups that meet here weekly. We have theater that uses the space, and it's a space that really comes alive probably around 5 p.m. With the different organizations and things using the different spaces. And we're trying to develop that. And right now our capacity is really during the day from 9 to 12, and we're trying to get more and more sort of going on. So we can move to the next slide. It's a facility for everyone. We have worked very hard at making this space friendly to the LGBT+ community, to seniors, to young people. We just received our designation as on the Rainbow Registry, which is a national registry for LGBTQ+ safe spaces. We probably, I think 22 years ago, this congregation became a gender-affirming ministry, and I think it was one of the first ones in Canada, if not the first, to do it. And so that is now an organization that works out of this building that helps ministers in the United Church across the country transition if that's something that they're looking to do, and provide them support and guidance through that process, which is, as you can imagine, is quite difficult. So we do have a community garden. We do have an organization named Helen Tufts who's operated in this facility for about 50 years, and they are a tutoring and mentoring organization that's a partnership with Queens. It's quite nice. And it's one of those organizations where all of a sudden this building can go from 5 to 50 kids running around on a Wednesday or Tuesday night, which is quite nice. And I mentioned alcohol anonymous, so we can go to the next slide. It's a hub of activity. We have events here constantly, particularly through the Christmas season, a lot of Christmas concerts, a lot of November concerts and things like that. So we've had a lot of popular musicians come through the space. Henry Rollins, I think we were talking about Arlo Guthrie a little while ago. Those kind of things. We just had Macleod in here. And many more. And so I think we were talking about a Sarah Palmer concert. So those are the things we're trying to build on. And I'll get into how we're trying to build on that. So we can go to the next slide. So right now, I mentioned the $750,000 enhancement project. So that is to put in professional level speakers, lighting system, projection system, and streaming system. That's really the phase 1 of the development. There's other phases that need to be developed for this space, but at this time, if you wanted to put on a concert, let's say, you have to drag in your sound system, you have to drag in your lighting. It can be quite expensive, it can be very difficult. So the hope with our enhancement is we expand the capacity of our space to host these kind of different events, but we also expand the capacity of the city to host cultural events. Because right now, space rental in our city is very difficult, particularly if you want to put on a concert. Particularly if you want to put on a concert with a large venue, so that 750 seat space is a 750 seat space. And there's not really other options for that at an affordable rate for community groups, right? We just had a Grapevine Theater put out a massive set in here, right? And there's not another place that they can really do that for for low cost. There are a couple spaces in town like Griff, but expensive. So what our hope is to put a low cost performing arts venue downtown, and something that local musicians, local artists, local thinkers and things can access. So we're working with a number of different engineering, architecture, and technical production companies to outfit the space. Everything has to go through Heritage Kingston, because this is one of the few spaces, I think, in the country where not only does the exterior have heritage designation, but also the interior. Everything that you see in this building, essentially, in this room, is protected by heritage rules and heritage designation, which is great because it keeps the space, relevant to the history of our city and our heritage, so, which is great. But one of the interesting things in this building is everything that you see was added at some point during the history. It's a 170-year-old building, but nothing you see here, maybe except for a couple of distinct ones, are 170 years old. This is a new roof. Well, when I say new, maybe 100 years old or something, it's newish. If you go actually above that roof, there's about a 12-foot clearance that you can walk along the walkway. And if you get to the end, you can see the original paint job of the original church, which is quite interesting. That balcony rail is protected by our heritage designation. But if you take that balcony rail away, what you get is the original cast iron balcony rail, which is under that, which is terrifying if you're sitting there, because you can see already that balcony still goes. So everything we're doing, we're working with different partners in the city, different organizations, and this is us at the City of Kingston, just kind of touring their facility and how they did their upgrades so that we can do our upgrades in a way that is respectful to the facility and to the heritage, but also provides the systems that we need. So next slide, please. So we'll have a number of organizations that will benefit from this upgrade very quickly. There's a lot of builders that use this space. We have Kiwanis in the space, She Sings, Orchestra Kingston, etc. And then just kind of the local voters who are looking for a space but can't afford to use the space as it is because they can't afford to bring in the lighting and the sound system. So we have that integrated. They come in, they bring their band, they plug it in, and they're ready to go. Next slide, please. Oh, I should have said the city of Kingston has released in 2021 list of development priorities, particularly for the downtown of the city. It's a concert venue, a low-cost community arts venue is at the top of their list. So that's something we're seeking to partner with them on. So right now, this is our system cost. So this includes an electrical upgrade, lighting system, PA sound system, etc. We're at around $726,000, which isn't a small amount. We began our fundraising efforts in earnest maybe 4 or 5 months ago, and so far we're at about $204,000, which is pretty good. We've got another $50,000 coming in a month or so, and then another $200,000 probably a couple months after that. So we're well on our way, and we don't see a problem hitting this target. So hopefully within maybe the next year and a half, it will be there, maybe less, and we'll have the system in place. There are other phases to the development. These pews are beginning to crack. They're very old. If you look at our Google reviews, it's like, concert was great, we sat on the wood. Concert was wonderful, my butt hurts. So either having to push it into it or something like that is something that we're looking to do. I'm going to be visiting a church that essentially taken their pews, added theater seating to them, but left them as it is. So we may be looking at that, but that's another phase. We also have to reinforce the floor. You're not going to fall through, but that's it. So next slide. So I'll take you just through a couple quick things. I can get super into the technical stuff, but you probably don't. So we do need to upgrade the room. We have to put audio circuits in and all that kind of thing. You may have heard at a venue you've been at when somebody brings the lights up, all of a sudden you hear through the speaker system. So we have to put in an electrical system that respects the lighting and the sound and the crossover and deal with that. So that's about $75,000. We need to put in a PA audio system. And these speakers that we need for this room are about $35,000 each, which is a lot of money. But when you look at this space, it's a very difficult space for audio because that ceiling is essentially a speaker cone focused right down on it. Actually, can you go to the next slide? Let me take a picture. So we need to put PA systems in here that miss the balcony, that miss the roof, that just get noise or sound directly to the audience members here. We do that through line array systems, which are large, painted the color of the walls. speaker systems that we'll put up on either side that can focus audio signals using a variety of complicated algorithms to do with bass cancellation. No one's here as a sound engineer. Anyways, you can see the problems in the room here. This is a sound audio study that we did. And basically, if you're sitting up there from there, you hear the sound go around the room kind of like a freight train. So we have to respect those problems, get the kind of systems in place that can deal with them, and then maybe later in the development of this space look at acoustic management, which is baffles and things. However, we can't go too far because we don't want to block anything, so we have to do everything precisely and smart. The Royal Albert, when it opened up in England, I think the king got up and talked, and no one could hear him. He built this multi-million-dollar thing because it just bounced all over the place. They spent the next 50 years dealing with that. So we're kind of at that level. But we can't, well, not the Royal Albert, but like one down, maybe two down. And they just dropped these big fiberglass things that called flying saucers. We can't do that here, but there's other ways that we're looking into that. These are the speakers, actually, that we'll be putting up on the wall there, and do things called beam focusing, which is like a flashlight for audio, which is really interesting. Okay, we'll go to the next thing. Oh, skip two? Oh, that's fine. Next one. Next one. Next one. Lighting. So we are looking at a high-end lighting system. This is high-end LED. LED uses a lot less electricity than your standard theater lighting. It can also change a whole bunch of colors. These modern units are wireless, and they're the first LED that treats all skin color the same. Years ago, 15 years ago, people came to me and they said, buy these LED lights. I bought a couple of them. We put them on some actors, they turned them into ghosts. I'm like, okay, that's not great. And then they didn't fade properly. The next generation came out. People looked okay, still faded properly. The generation of LED came out maybe 6 years ago. We said, we put lime in these, and now the skin color is true. People don't look like ghosts anymore. We said, great, we bought it. And then we hung them, we got people to walk on stage, they looked great. You can see through skin color, great. We bought a few more. And then we had a show, and this was at the Playhouse, where people with different color skin tones came on, specifically people with black skin tones, and it turned them green. And we said, oh no. And also, and people from Asian descent, it kind of washes them out and makes them red. So that was the last generation. So this is the first generation of lighting that we're putting in. It's expensive, $4,000 a light. But that actually treats skin tones equally, and that's really important as we're trying to develop a space that's for everybody. We can't have like prejudice lighting. So, anyways, that's the modern lighting that we're sort of putting in. We can go to the next slide. Oh, the paint. So all of these lights will be painted the color of the walls, and that's done through an industrial process during the manufacturing. And that's the same with any lighting positions that we put up. Again, we're clearing them all through Heritage Kingston, but we're painting everything so it disappears as much as possible. We are also putting in a projection system, and this will be a large projector unit that sits up there that we're figuring out right now. But it would drop, the whole unit drops, and then the screen comes out so that we can sort of have a projection screen appear sort of out of nowhere. And that's going to be about 20 feet wide. And there's a number of organizations that have asked for this in town, including the film festival. So we hope to be a place where movies can be broadcast played and, with a high power projector. And that'll be good for meetings and other things. Next slide, please. So streaming, this is the last little bit. We actually just got a grant to cover all of this. So this is about a $79,000 system. And it's just because in COVID, not a lot of people come to church. And they found over the last few years that the biggest growth in the church organization, but also in groups like the Top Leg for selling tickets and things, was actually done online. So we're going to put an integrated high-end camera system in June into this space so that we can stream weddings, we can stream funerals. That's really important. If someone's getting married, you can't be there, well, it's nice to still participate by watching it, say or something like that. We are streaming our church services right now, but this will be open to anyone who rents the space or maybe wants to stream a live event. We'll find one that's mobile, so we'll go into other rooms. So if Rotary is able to come back, we can actually stream from here, which is nice. But yeah, so the streaming system, now we use a soundboard, we're going to be building a booth back there. There's a whole bunch of stuff. I think that's it. Next slide. Yeah, that's it. So that's sort of the project for now. Phase 1 anyways. Phase 2 is the seats and the acoustics, and then phase 3 is rebuilding the stage, digitizing the interface for that organ, so that we can move around. So it's still going to be, it's just going to be essentially made mobile, because those 2 rooms house 3 stories of organ pipes. So we need that, but we need to be able to roll it off and rebuild the stage and things like that. So lots of dreams here, but lots of stuff is happening, which is really nice. Yes?
The timing of your various stages, I'm not clear.
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
So a year and a half, I think we'll have phase 1 complete, just it seems how the money's going. And then phase 2, which is, so this floor holds 50 pounds per square foot. It should hold about 100. Nobody's gonna fall to the floor. If you go to Rocksham here, I get a bit dicey. So we need to restructure the underside of this floor. Right now, if you go under there, it's pretty much a catacomb. There's some tree trunks holding the majority of it up. So we do probably have to look into that. So that's about a $250,000 rebuild. We've got an architect and an engineer working on that right now. So that's probably going to be phase 2, and that's probably 4 years down the road. And we're hoping to pepper with other things. You know, a lot of what we can get are incentives or grants from the government, and sometimes they're very specific on specific things. So the phases may not go necessarily according to plan, depending on the incentives that we can get, or the investments that we can get. So, but that it's a general plan. We're hoping to have phase 1 done, a year and a half, phase 2 probably 2 years and a half. Phase